Tonight, Iran attacks more oil tankers in the Gulf as Australia joins global efforts to boost fuel supplies. Hello, I'm Guy Stayner. This is ABC News. Also tonight, TAFE considers course cuts as it searches for millions in savings. Efforts underway to secure a buyer for the troubled Bell Bay manganese smelter. The fight to reclaim classrooms from the effects of masculinity influences, and why hotter summers are here to stay. "32 countries have agreed to release 400 million barrels of oil to address fears over global supply as the US and Israel's war with Iran escalates. Dramatic scenes have unfolded in the Strait of Hormuz, where about 1/5 of the world's oil passes, as Iran attacks oil tankers and cargo vessels.
Pouring fuel on the flames of war. Oman oil storage facilities hit by drones. While explosive-laden Iranian boats target oil tankers strangling the Strait of Hormuz, Iraq evacuating dozens of crew members from burning vessels. These Thai crew capturing the moment they escaped an Iranian attack. As the war stems the flow of oil tankers through the Strait, 32 countries, members of the International Energy Agency, are launching the largest ever release of emergency stocks, 400 million barrels of oil.
But, to be clear, the most important thing for a return to stable flows of oil and gas is the resumption of transit through the Strait of Hormuz.
The regime remains adamant it won't allow a single drop through.
Any vessel whose ship or oil cargo belongs to the United States, the Zionist regime or their hostile partners will be considered a legitimate target.
The US President Donald Trump providing his assurance.
And my administration, as you know better than anybody, is also working to keep the oil flowing. It's flowing all over.
As US and Israel's bombardment of Iran continues, the country's exiled crown prince has renewed calls for the regime's military to defect.
This is your last chance to break from the oppressive forces and join your people.
While the Islamic Republic issued a stern warning.
If someone comes to the streets at the request of the enemy, we do not see them as protesters. We see them as enemies. All our children are ready to fire.
The Iranian government has also released evidence it says proves the US killed more than 160 civilians, mostly children, in a strike on a girls' school. This vision purportedly showing debris from a US missile, adding to preliminary findings by US authorities.
A new report says the military investigation has found it was the United States that struck the school.
I don't know about it.
Iran is demonstrating it can still fight back, firing at Israel and targets across the Middle East. The Israeli government says its operation with the US will continue for as long as it takes to crush the Iranian regime. Bridget Rollison, ABC News, Jerusalem.
Australia is still finalising its response to the International Energy Agency's call. But today, the federal government took action to boost domestic fuel supplies. The Energy Minister is temporarily relaxing environmental standards to alleviate shortages in regional areas. Here's National Affairs correspondent Jane Norman.
Rising prices fueling panic. Unleaded now firmly over $2 a litre. Diesel a record high.
The fact that Bunnings ran out of jerry cans is enough evidence that we've gone down the wrong path here.
Panic buying and stockpiling disrupting the supply chain.
We're seeing a doubling of demand for fuel since the bombing of Iran, and that is what has caused real unacceptable supply chain pressure.
The government insists supply is not the issue, with 36 days worth of petrol, 32 days of diesel and 29 days of jet fuel in reserve. But Australia is exposed. With only 2 refineries onshore, 90% of its fuel is imported.
Can the Prime Minister guarantee that Australia will not run out of fuel?
Can you guarantee Australia will not run out of fuel?
Resume your seat.
Under pressure, the government's taken action, temporarily boosting supplies by relaxing the fuel standards designed to reduce pollutants and emissions.
This will see 100 million litres of fuel extra flow in Australia a month over that time.
Roughly 2 days' worth. Brisbane's Ampol refinery to redirect the dirtier fuel normally exported into the domestic market. Regional Australia the priority.
Practical action to help farmers, to help regional Australians through this immediate crisis.
We need a way too to make sure that, if needed, restrictions could be applied in our big metropolitan areas so that food production isn't hindered.
A fortnight into this war, the government is grappling with the enormous economic aftershocks. Treasury analysis seen by the ABC suggests if oil prices remain at current levels, inflation is set to surge even higher above the Reserve Bank's band, putting more pressure on the board to lift interest rates. Jane Norman, ABC News, Canberra.
There's no immediate fix for surging fuel prices, despite pledges from governments around the world to do what they can to ease price pressures. Here's Chief Business Correspondent Ian Verrinder.
There was a swift reaction to the International Energy Agency's decision to open the oil floodgates. It bolted past $100 a barrel. Perhaps someone did the maths. 400 million barrels divided by 20 million a day taken out by the war. That's less than 3 weeks' supply. In our case, the situation is even more dire. Our oil production has dropped 90% since 2000. Most is now sent to Singapore, where it's refined and then shipped back at enormous cost. We're supposed to have 3 months of strategic reserves, but that was scaled back to 50 days, with a large portion held in America, which has since been sold. On some estimates, we have just 25 days' worth in the can. The longer the Persian Gulf is shut, the more acute and extended the shortage, and the higher prices will climb. In the US, gasoline has surged 20% in the past fortnight, putting pressure on Donald Trump to swiftly bring this conflict to a close.
Back home, the state government is assuring residents Tasmania's fuel supply is secure. Some Tasmanian retailers say their fuel sales rose by 180% last week. And while they've so far been able to meet demand, continued panic buying could eventually cause shortages. The government says there's no need to panic buy or stockpile fuel.
Tasmania has adequate supply for meeting the needs of Tasmanians, with more fuel on the way.
Israel's intense bombardment of Lebanon is fueling a humanitarian crisis that's putting immense strain on the financially crippled country. More than 700,000 Lebanese citizens are now displaced, with people forced to camp in tents and charities picking up the slack.
Lebanon's largest football stadium usually fits 45,000 fans. Now hundreds of residents are seeking shelter from Israeli strikes underneath the stands.
We were bathing the children when they suddenly issued a warning to evacuate the entire southern suburbs of Beirut. So we quickly put our things in a van and left right away.
This is a crisis that involves all of Lebanon.
The local municipality is trying to provide services to those sleeping at the complex and at 100 other sites across Beirut.
Well, the first thing is to try to reach out to people. We have to understand that these people have escaped very dangerous situations.
I honestly don't know if it'll be a long time or a short time.
The threat is ever present as Israel continues its bombardment of Beirut and beyond, after the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah weighed into the broader regional conflict in solidarity with Iran. Lebanon's social safety net is non-existent, leaving charities to feed, clothe and house the desperate and displaced.
We cannot tell no for anyone.
This kitchen is serving up to 5,000 meals a day, almost double its usual amount.
We feel deep down in our mission we are protected by our God.
And some of those who keep the kitchen going recently fled their own homes in the south.
With my yoga and my faith, we always stay hopeful. Hopefully we will return.
Feeding that dream, the order of the day. Matthew Doran, ABC News.
To the rest of the day's news, and TAFE is reviewing its course offerings as it tries to find $45 million of savings over the next 4 years. The Education Union says staff are dismayed by the plan and has accused the state government of undermining the training provider.
Searching for savings, TAFE's review of its course offerings is causing alarm.
All that can go now is teachers and the courses that provide opportunities for young Tasmanians.
To come out at the start of an education year and announce the degree of cuts that are going to come in the next 4 years is completely unacceptable.
TAFE's chief executive emailed staff on Wednesday, revealing the training provider will try to find $45 million in savings over the next 4 years. He wrote, "We must reshape and realign parts of the organisation to focus our resources where they have the greatest impact. We must narrow and refine our offerings to best support the state's current and emerging skills priorities."
If you have a think across the state, the things that we need more tradies, electricians, plumbers and the like, carpenters, healthcare workers, nurses, childcare workers.
It does look like on the surface that TAFE are setting themselves up simply to train people for the Liberal government's vanity projects such as the stadium or pushing through Mariner Slick.
Dr Baker says funding isn't an issue, but TAFE's expenses continue to outstrip revenue. He was unable to say how many jobs might go.
It just doesn't make sense, and this is clearly ideological now, and it's a cut to public education.
It needs to be fit for purpose to meet the needs of the Tasmanian community. And we have increased operational funding.
TAFE is expected to release the outcome of its review in the next few months. Lucy MacDonald, ABC News.
Efforts are underway to find a buyer for the troubled Bell Bay manganese smelter as the corporate regulator pushes for its owner to be liquidated. Northern Tasmanian business leaders hope a new owner could restart production and protect jobs and suppliers. But experts on corporate law warn the damage may already be done.
Donald Beam once ranked Australia's only manganese smelter among his best clients. But the Northern Tasmanian quarry owner says Liberty Bell Bay has owed him about $50,000 since it entered limited operations last May.
They'd always been the best payers ever, so it was just quite a shock.
He's not alone. The ABC understands 23 local contractors are owed more than $1.7 million by Liberty Bell Bay. But Mr Beam says the smelter's production halt has been the biggest blow, costing him millions in lost income.
I'd prefer to have something happening. I'd like the money too, but I'd prefer to have the thing back to work.
Last week, Australia's corporate regulator ASIC commenced legal action, seeking a court order to liquidate Liberty Bell Bay for breaching financial disclosure laws. The company, which is owned by Sanjeev Gupta's GFG Alliance, says it will resist attempts to wind it up. Industry stakeholders say the development has triggered interest from potential buyers for the smelter.
I'm even meeting with a potential buyer this afternoon as an initial meeting. So there is a lot of interest, and this would be the best outcome for Australia and Tasmania.
There's certainly ongoing discussions with a range of interested parties with respect to the asset.
The liquidators of another GFG Alliance subsidiary, Tarmor Colliery in New South Wales, have announced 238 workers there will lose their jobs. Corporate law experts say Liberty Bell Bay's 200-plus workers will likely face the same fate if ASIC's court action succeeds.
The appointment of a liquidator generally terminates employment contracts.
Professor Harris warns a new owner would not necessarily save jobs and the sale may face hurdles.
It wouldn't surprise me if there's been an underspend on care and maintenance in Liberty Bell Bay, which might actually deter some of the bidders.
Still, local business leaders believe finding a new owner for the smelter is the best option available. Liberty Bell Bay has been contacted for a response. Emily Smith, ABC News.
Former ASIO boss Dennis Richardson has assured the public the Royal Commission into Anti-Semitism and Social Cohesion will not be affected by his early departure. Mr Richardson was appointed to probe the AFP and ASIO in the wake of the Bondi terror attack before his review was folded into the Royal Commission, which is due to hand down its interim report next month. He says his function in the inquiry was that of an overpaid researcher.
I think the destination the Royal Commission gets to will be not much different to the destination if I had have remained there or if I had have been doing it alone.
Teachers say the impact of the so-called manosphere on the classroom is getting worse and it's affecting the safety of teachers and female students. A guide has been released to help schools recognise the trend and access tools to reclaim the classroom.
This might be one of the most uncomfortable Louis Theroux documentaries I've watched in years.
The submissive thing still rings in my mind.
Oh my God, haven't said that in ages.
Mothers, I need you to hug your sons.
Whether you're in it or critical of it, the manosphere is a growing community, online, on screen and in real life. Boys as young as primary school age being influenced online by men trying to bring back traditional gender roles, then taking what they're learning into classrooms.
Teachers unequivocally tell us that things are getting worse for them.
Monash University and the Australian National Research Organisation for Women's Safety have put together a new resource for teachers. It was launched at the No to Violence National Conference being held in Hobart and describes secret hand gestures in classrooms, female teachers being circled in playgrounds, even being asked to perform domestic tasks.
The idea of asking a teacher to make a sandwich is a reflection, particularly to a female teacher, that really should be at home in the kitchen.
And there's not just concern for teachers. Young girls are reporting feeling unsafe.
For girls, what they are observing is what boys will do to a woman who is in a professional role and who is ostensibly in a position of authority and responsibility.
The guide is designed to help teachers recognise the influence of the manosphere and manage it in the classroom. It says critical digital literacy is crucial to help boys identify misogynistic content.
Yes, we need real accountability and we need zero tolerance, but we also need space for messy, real-life conversations.
Conversations to be had in the classroom and at home. Fiona Blackwood, ABC News.
The Chief Executive of Southern Tasmania's only private mental health hospital has resigned. Arish Naresh was appointed CEO of the Hobart Clinic in October last year when it reopened after a brief closure. A new board was appointed and the state government provided $2 million to keep it operating. In an email to staff, Mr Naresh cited health issues for his decision. The clinic is required to submit a new sustainable management strategy to the Health Department next month. An ASX-listed Tasmanian food business has gone into voluntary administration. Tas Foods owns Nichols Poultry and other food businesses, including dairy producers. In recent years, Tas Foods sold subsidiaries, including Pyengana Dairy and Better Milk. KPMG has been appointed administrator. The first creditors' meeting will take place later this month. To finance, and reports of ships being attacked around the Persian Gulf led to a renewed spike in oil prices and a bruising day for the Australian share market. Here's David Chow.
In the past 24 hours, the Aussie dollar got pretty close to 72 US cents, which is its highest level in 3.5 years, before it went down slightly to 71.2 cents. Its gains in recent days were due to some comments by the Reserve Bank Deputy Governor Andrew Hauser, who said there'll be a very genuine debate at the next RBA meeting. All four of Australia's big banks interpreted that to mean expect a rate hike next Tuesday. And it couldn't have come at a worse time, especially with oil back above $100 US a barrel, which dashes any hope of petrol prices falling back to where they were before Israel and America attacked Iran. This latest spike came after reports of at least 6 ships being attacked near the Strait of Hormuz over the past day. So Donald Trump's pledge to offer Navy protection to oil tankers and the International Oil Agency's decision to release a record amount of oil into the markets have essentially done nothing to calm investors' nerves. So while oil surged 9% today, the price of gold went down to about $5,140 an ounce. So it's probably no surprise that oil stocks did well today and shares of gold miners did poorly. And overall, it was another bad day for the share market after it fell by a fairly steep 1.4%, as the reality seems to be sinking in that this war could drag on and lead to higher fuel prices, higher inflation and higher interest rates. Overseas, things weren't that much better for markets in the US or Asia. And just finally, the cheerful folks at Commonwealth Bank have warned this war could last months, that markets are currently underestimating the risks, and the oil price could even surge above 150 US a barrel, which would be a new record for all the wrong reasons. And that's finance.
Coming up on 7:30 with Sarah Ferguson, the Kurdish militia mobilising to join the war on Iran.
Are they your fighters?
Yes, they're all coming here now because they know America and Israel are attacking Iran.
Our goal is to end the occupation of Kurdistan by the Iranian regime.
Also, I'll speak to former Israeli Defence Minister Benny Gantz about what comes next in the war that's coming up.
In sport, members of the men's Iranian soccer team will not play in the FIFA World Cup, co-hosted by the United States later this year. Meanwhile, supporters in Australia say everything will be done to make the 6 members of the women's team who sought asylum here to feel at home in their new country.
Firuza Amiri knows what it's like to start a new life in Australia as a refugee.
It would be very hard when you say bye to your home and you know that you're not going to go back ever.
The Iranian-born member of the Afghan women's cricket team fled the country when the Taliban returned to power. She has this advice for the 6 members of the Iranian women's football team who sought asylum in Australia.
Missing home, I always do find a cricket ground, you can find a soccer field. That will be reminding you who you are.
The Iranian women are getting help from the International Footballers Union, and A-League clubs have offered to help.
Finding houses, support them in relation to learning English, etc. So there'll be a whole community around them.
It's an opportunity for them to know that there's a club out here that cares about them and is willing to offer them a safe space.
The members of the team who left Australia are still in Malaysia, their journey home still up in the air. Now, Iran's men's team has pulled out of this year's FIFA World Cup in the United States. The country's sports minister appeared on TV saying,
"This corrupt government assassinated our leader, so we are not in a situation to participate in the World Cup."
Hours earlier, FIFA President Gianni Infantino met with the US President Donald Trump, later posting, President Trump reiterated that the Iranian team is, of course, welcome to compete in the tournament in the United States. That wishful thinking was quickly washed away. This week's events have well and truly put paid to that thorny old cliche that sport and politics never mix. David Mark, ABC News.
Australia will be without first-choice players Hayley Raso and Steph Catley for Friday's Asian Cup quarter-final against North Korea in Perth. Raso was concussed during the Matildas' 4-0 win over Iran a week ago, while Catley suffered the same injury during the 3-3 draw with South Korea on Sunday. Both players did light training away from the main group today as Australia chases a semi-final berth and Women's World Cup qualification. Matildas coach Joe Montemuro says he has complete faith in his squad.
No real adjustments. We've got enough backup in our squad and we believe in the backup that we've got to come in and make those replacements.
Darcy Harry from Wales holds a one-shot lead after the first round of the Women's Australian Open at Kooyonga in Adelaide. World number 9 Hannah Green is 4 shots off the lead, but well placed to try to end the Australian drought at the tournament that stretches back to 2014. 3-time major winner Minjee Lee is 2 shots further back at even par. LPGA Tour player Steph Kyriakou is likely to miss the cut after a horror opening round that included 2 quadruple bogeys. I know how she feels. A disastrous batting display has cost Tasmania its first one-day cup trophy in 16 years. Rain delayed the start of yesterday's day-night final at Bellerive. Play didn't get underway until after 6 p.m. Sent in to bat for 22 overs, the Tigers' top order was decimated by New South Wales, and at one stage Tasmania was 5 for 25. Nikhil Chowdhury added some respectability to the scoreboard before the Tigers were eventually bowled out for 118. Tasmania's bowlers gave the home side a fighting chance deep into the Blues innings, but Curtis Patterson's 52 not out was enough to help New South Wales clinch the title. The Tigers left to rue what might have been after finishing the season on top of the table.
I'm super proud of probably the way that we were able to stick in that game and probably push them as deep as we did. But it doesn't really change, I guess, how I feel. We feel, I guess, pretty empty down there. So it felt like a really good opportunity gone by.
A string of record-breaking hot days hit headlines earlier this summer, but less discussed was the growing number of them. Since the turn of the century, new ABC analysis shows that most capital cities are experiencing more extreme heat days, with experts warning the trend is here to stay.
When it comes to summers, Robert Tucker has a few under his belt.
Oh, yeah, 94 years and a bit. So I have seen a few changes.
Renmark has always had a reputation for hot weather. Before air conditioning, his father had a novel solution to beat the heat.
Because we use hessian in drying dried fruits, he detached the hessian to the gutter and let it hang down and throw buckets of water over it.
Scorching days and sleepless nights.
But January brought an unwelcome milestone. Renmark reached a record 49.6 degrees.
Well, it must be a climate change. I do believe that the temperature has risen.
It's not just these record-breaking days that have climate scientists talking, but the volume of hot days. In Adelaide summers between 1950 and 2000, there were 65 extreme heat days. Since the turn of the millennium, there have been 121. That's nearly double in half the time. It's similar in Canberra and Perth. One of the only capital cities to buck the trend is Sydney, thanks to its coastal breeze. But head 60 kilometres inland to Richmond and a familiar story emerges. Scientists are warning that even if next summer isn't quite as hot, that doesn't equal a cooler future.
And so for me to think, oh, this summer, maybe it's a return to the good old days, that's just not true. I wish that it was, but these numbers show that things are changing. The climate is changing.
A reminder that hot weather is here to stay for young and old. Tyne Logan, ABC News.
To today's weather, and tomahawk is a word that's been in the news a lot of late, but it's lovely to use it in such a glorious, peaceful context tonight. This sunrise at Tomahawk in the northeast was sent in by Susan Hines. Not much extreme heat about the south today, just 16 degrees in Hobart and in Strawn. Burnie reached 18, Devonport had 21, Launceston eventually reached 22 degrees late in the day. Rainfall to 9 a.m. this morning, Strawn had 28 millimetres, Launceston 11, Hobart 10. It was much drier in the northeast. The satellite image shows wide-felt cold about the south today due to this chilly southwesterly airstream. Tomorrow will remain with southwesterlies, but they will start to abate as this large high in the Bight edges closer. Across the country tomorrow, rain likely in Brisbane and Darwin. A light shower possible in Sydney. Fine in the other capitals, Melbourne cloudy and 20 degrees. Back home, it will be mostly fine, apart from isolated showers about the west and south, easing and contracting to the far southwest during the day. Should only be a millimetre or two about the west. Any falls should be less than a millimetre about the south. 16 degrees in Queenstown tomorrow, Burnie fine and 19, Devonport 21. Launceston, another top of 22 degrees after a low of 7. Similar conditions along the east coast. And Hobart has a slight chance of a morning shower, a top of 19 after a low of 10. Sunrise tomorrow will be at 3 minutes past 7. On coastal waters, there'll be southwesterly winds of 20 to 30 knots, easing during the day. There are strong wind warnings for all coastal waters except the central west and Bank Strait and Franklin Sound. And there's a bushwalkers alert for the west, with snow forecast down to 1,000 metres tonight and tomorrow morning. Saturday will be fine apart from isolated light showers about the west coast. Sunday, fine apart from isolated showers again about the west. And next week is looking perfect unless you're hoping for more rain. And that's it for this evening's program. Up next is Sarah Ferguson with 7:30. See you tomorrow.